Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to my channel. If you've been here before, well, if this is your first time here, thank you so much for stopping by. And I hope you enjoy. Make yourself comfortable. And if this is, you've been here before and decided to come back, thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. It's encouraging to see anytime I get that notification of a new subscriber, and I just got one today, so thank you. Especially that person who is the new subscriber. Makes me feel so good. But anyone who chooses to spend some time with me gets fulfillment or enjoyment out of my content, whether it's because you're learning something new or just hearing somebody talk about things that you have an interest in, whatever the reasons. Thank you so much for stopping by, and I'm looking forward to continuing to have my channel to grow and getting used to being on talking to a camera. I'm more of a face-to-face kind of a person, so getting used to not being quite so awkward on a camera. But thank you so much. So tonight is just kind of chatty. It is the night of the dark moon, and what are we looking at here? It is Monday, September 2nd. Oddly enough, 11:11 where I am, which is kind of crazy as I make this video. Yeah, kind of interesting that that's the time at this moment. It's the dark moon. So I've been kind of going back to some fundamentals, going back to the basics, and I'm really seeing the value in starting to do that and wanting to do more of that, of going back to some very fundamental basic things about witchcraft and how that has shaped my practice thus far, but also revamping, revising, redoing, renewing. Wow, it's very retrograde of me. Wow, it's so funny. I'm looking forward to getting more benefit and seeing the benefits thus far, and to delving more deeply into that. And while I definitely am deeply rooted in and as a practitioner of ATRs, my initial practice of a path that was not with the Judeo-Christian path, most particularly Catholicism, was witchcraft. And so I've been feeling called for a while now to kind of come back to that path. And I have a feeling it's probably before things really amp up and become much more intense with both the Haitian tradition and the Lukumi tradition that which I'm a part. But it feels really good, and I'm really enjoying it. And one of the fundamental things is working with the moon. And it's as I even say that, I'm just thinking back to being a small child and saying the rosary with my mom and my grandmother, and having such deep reverence for the Blessed Mother, but wanting to look out the window and stare at the moon when I was speaking to the Blessed Mother. So that connection to the divine feminine has always been with me, even when I didn't have a conscious awareness of what that meant, what that was. And so working with the phases of the moon, the divine feminine, is really speaking to me again. I'd gotten away from doing that for quite some time, and I'm really feeling very called to do that. very, I don't know, I'm reaching for the words, obviously, but just very called to do that, and very, like, a welcoming, like that aspect of the divine feminine, the lunar energies. It feels very much a coming home and a welcoming and a comfortability and a comfort, as well as eager to learn more, to revise. Again, that revise, revisit, revamp. And so tonight is the night of the dark moon. And I did a video with my friend Claire, and we decided that we are going to start working with the energies of the moon separately, but also together, and creating a series of videos where we will do the videos together, side by side, with the full moon and new moon. And I'm loving that. It's for many reasons. It's something that I'm excited to continue to do. At the same time, I'm realizing there is this call for me personally to work with the dark moon and exploring what does that look like for me? What is that about? How can I honor that aspect of the divine feminine outside of myself, as well as that aspect within me, the dark feminine within me? And it's interesting because at least one, I have a feeling I'm going to be surprised, of a certain goddess that may be swirling around me that fits that description, but one in particular, and I'll discuss more about her in another video at some point. I have a feeling there's going to be many videos about that specific face of female deity. But right now, as I'm picking up the phone and actually having conversations with her, it's very, very new. So I want to get that relationship a little bit more well established before I even discuss who or what. But she's sent me many signs at this point. But as I was looking up the information to do the video about the new moon, I realized I was getting this conflicting information about the dates, and that's happened several times, and I just couldn't understand how is it that there's always a day off of when you do a Google search as to when it says the new moon or the dark moon, or even just if you look up in Google new moon. And it's not, of course we have to give leeway for, is something listed in Greenwich Mean Time, Eastern Standard Time, Pacific, whatever. That's not what I'm talking about. Even if it says the same, time X Greenwich Mean, the dates would be different. And I feel kind of silly, like I should have known this as long as I've been practicing, but that a lot of people overlap or see the dark moon as the same as the new moon. And some of the research that I've done in the past few days, I'm realizing that it's kind of people are one camp or another. And I realize I'm definitely the other, meaning go back a little bit. Moon cycles, approximately 28 days. The moon goes from can't see it in the sky, and then it slowly starts getting bigger and bigger. Tiny with a little thumbnail sliver, and then as she grows and expands to fullness, waning, Now we're at the full moon, and then after the full moon, start slowly appearing to become smaller and diminish. And now we have actually, I have a little ashtray here. Forgive me guys, I just realized I actually have a visual. Oh, do I have a Kleenex here? I don't. Had a little piece of Palo Santo in there. So, pretty sure we all know the phases of the moon, but just for the sake of visual, or in case anyone doesn't. So, to fullness, and then it starts getting slower, and then back to empty, and then it starts becoming slightly more full, halfway point, 3/4 moon, full moon, and then 3/4 as it diminishes and becomes smaller, halfway smaller, 3/4 smaller, 1/4 moon to the void. I'm glad that word came to me, the void. So a lot of people see the new moon, because it's dark, as the same thing as the dark moon. I am of that other camp that I'm realizing I don't. Though both, if you were to look for the moon in the sky when it is the dark moon or when it is the new moon, it's a blank, inky canvas of a sky. It's complete darkness. It's best time for stargazing because the moon is not blocking the view and the visibility of stars, but it's darkness. But from my perspective and many others, there is a difference between that darkness that is the fresh new, and that, according to what I was able to research and following a very, very well-respected astrologer here on YouTube. Oh God, now her name escapes me. If I can think of her name in a moment, I'll say it. But a very, very well-established professional astrologer, and going on the time that she's stating that the new moon will be, at least for where I am in the United States, tomorrow as I'm filming this. So that will be Tuesday, the 3rd, where I am. And that means that tonight is the dark moon. The goddess being in her triple goddess form, maiden mother crone, fresh new, full pregnant round belly, maternal, then in the waxing to the crone phase. All of these things, tie in together. But there has to be, from my perspective, to each his own, that small pause, and that's what I'm realizing that the dark moon is. And some of the analogies that I've read in the past day or two, like they speak of if someone practices yoga and how there has to be shavasana, and some yogis, yoga practitioners and instructors will say that shavasana is actually the most important of all the postures. So if you do a 10-minute yoga session, if you do an hour-long yoga session, that shavasana is actually the most important because it is the quiet, the stillness, the pause. So whether you're in child's pose or you're in, again, shavasana, which is corpse pose, laid on your back, down, hands up, legs, straight out and feet slightly to the side, just in that complete state of relax where it is a calm, quiet stillness. A pause, as I just took, before beginning the new. So it's an opportunity to absorb everything that you've done in that practice session and let your body, your mind, your spirit kind of integrate and absorb all of those things, and to have just absolute stillness before you get up and finished your yoga session and now you get up, you come back to full alertness, pack up your mat, leave, go on with your day. And that's kind of what I'm realizing that the dark moon is. It is that quiet. It is the void. It is the stillness. So while there is that darkness, and again, if you're going with the sacred number 3, in particularly as we're looking at, well, divinity in general, but the goddess, beginning, middle, end. So before there can be, and maybe they're two sides of the same coin, essentially. So it's closing time, every ending is some other beginning's end, or whatever that the lyrics to that song are. But the dark moon, I'm realizing, is the void. It is the emptiness. The segue between old and new. The keystone. The dovetail of one thing into the next. So breathing, an inhalation, taking in the deep breath, hold at the top, and then the exhale. That hold, that pause, that's the dark moon. It is that void that segues and is the finality of one session, one experience, one phase. It is the pivot. It is the liminal space into phasing into the energy of the new moon, which is the freshness, the new beginning, the very, very first initial step or energy, the planting of the seeds. But the dark moon is the hole, the void, the womb. And I'm really looking forward to kind of playing around with these energies, seeing more of what it's about. I'm realizing this video is going longer than I wanted to, and I hope this doesn't sound like just ramblings of a mad woman, which I mean, it kind of is. But this video is definitely for anyone who can get benefit from it. But this video is for me for a couple of reasons. But as I'm processing out loud about and feeling into, taking the information that I've gotten from the reading, the small amount of reading that I've done, but the integration and the processing of that information and the verbalizing and processing out loud of speaking about this. And hopefully this will be beneficial for someone or a comfort to someone. The void can be mere half a second. The void can be, if you're Capricorn, well, Pluto's been retrograde. I kind of feel like the void has been about 15 or 16 years. It's that dark space that can be quiet, it can be stillness, it can be peace. It can also be terrifying. It can be isolating, it can be confronting. And I think that this might be important for any of us who are, as we're, again, with Pluto retrograde in Capricorn, making its final push, but especially for the cardinal signs, Cancer, Libra, Capricorn and Cancer, most particularly for Capricorns because it is in our sign that this is occurring. So that release, that pause. So I'm going to just pull a card for, you know what, no. I'm going to, oh no, I was going to use my Haunted Oracle. I was called to do that. I was on tarot tour, and so I haven't put all of my decks back and in place. Nope, I wanted to use my Haunted Mail, that Manor Oracle, but it is clearly somewhere that it's not where it should be. This is live, this is real time, this is how it happens, folks. Not edited, not polished, but authentic and sincere. My Mythos Tarot, the Asphodylon Mythos Tarot. Let's just pull a card. And if this feels right, if this is appropriate to you, take this information and do what you will with it. If it's not, leave it for whoever it is. So as I'm shuffling, what are we asking? The energies of this dark moon this evening, the quiet, the stillness, the void. What is something that is beneficial to release, to let go, and to find peace in the pause of the ending? Oh, wow, interesting. So the Hermit card, Hephaestus. Oh God, I hope I'm pronouncing his name correctly. So this is, and this is interesting because it's the Hermit card. That makes sense. It's the Hermit card, and it is about solitude, doing the work, but in solitude. Yes, Hephaestus. I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly. Hephaestus. And he was the god who was rejected by Hera and banished, his mother Hera, but became the master blacksmith. He went down into the depths of the volcano beneath Mount Olympus and diligently worked to master his craft and worked so hard. So what things do we need to let go in this dark moon of perfectionism? Perhaps healing the wounds around maternal energy or maternal influences, or our mothers. Letting go of the fear of being alone. And realizing that in that solitude, it is the fire that can, that will forge us. It can be, again, confronting and so maybe even terrifying, maybe painful. But from that experience, or those kinds of experiences, those are the fires that are forging us to be able to have our own sense of power, and that wisdom only comes through experience. And spirits for me that I associate with the Hermit card would be Saint Clare, for anyone who works with the Catholic saints. Saint Clare, that quiet stillness, to see things with clarity, perhaps literally or esoterically, to have the courage to face the fearful things in our life. Hecate, crossroads, wise woman, queen of the witches, who gives guidance for those who feel like they're lost souls, or who are lost souls, who are feeling abandoned. Obatala, who likes his solitude, likes peace, stillness, quiet. So those are just some thoughts. If you have any information, anything that you can tell me, that any books, refer to any other YouTubers, as I'm exploring again the energies of the dark moon, please drop something in the comments, or if you want to talk about your experiences of working with dark moon energy, because everything out there, the vast majority of everything out there, is about full moon, new moon. But it's almost like, new moon, it's a puppy, it's a kitten, full moon, it's in its prime. But what about the senior dog? What about the wisdom of the crone? What about the dark moon? So if there's anyone who has any information that you can share with me, because what I essentially want my channel to be is a community where we work together and we share and discuss. So one final thing before we go. Oh, crystals, smoky quartz. My friend Claire got this for me when she went to the gem and crystals show in Arizona, I believe, a couple of years ago. And I love this smoky quartz. It's so beautiful. So smoky quartz is a good stone to work with. Any of the dark stones, obsidian, black tourmaline, any of those dark stones, the grounding, the support, the root chakra energy that comes with those. And I love smoky quartz because it just always feels like a friend. But the last thing I want to share with you guys is, and it's interesting how magic works, how spirit works, how the synchronicities line up. As I'm on this quest to explore the dark moon energy, a lot of times on Sundays I spend time, forgive me guys, my throat's getting dry. Not wine. I've been on this hibiscus tea thing all summer. I spend time with my cousins on Sundays, and my cousin's husband is a ridiculously talented man, ridiculously talented. And anything to do with plants, yeah, guitar, brilliant, but also beautiful stained glass work. And so he had a piece, and I was like, oh my God, he said, hey, I'm gonna make something special for me, tell me what you want. So I discussed, something that I'd like for him to work on. And as I was walking out of his studio area, his glass studio area, and I said, oh, that's beautiful. And he was like, yeah, I've had that forever, but it's not my best piece. I was trying some new techniques. And about 20 minutes later, he's like, here you go. Something told me, I just want you to have this. And how about the dark moon and the dark goddess speaking and giving me what I feel is a sign of acknowledgement of, yes, continue seeking the light. Information will be reflected back to you. But how beautiful, the dark crescent. So that is all I have for you guys tonight. Blessed dark moon and blessed new moon tomorrow, but blessed dark moon. I will see you all in the next video.